It's about that time to grab your favorite snack and sit back and relax, because you are now listening to the MovieTime Podcast with your hosts, Low-Key Geek Rene Zalata and Blake the Wolf. Take it away, boys.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's time for another week, another brand new episode of Movie Time. Got myself, Rene, Low-Key Geek here, and my buddy Blake the Wolf, the Wolf. What's going on, dude?
What? No, my name is Rene, the Low-Key Geek, and I'm on Earth 42.
I'm Blake Wolf, the Wolf. Yeah.
Wait.
I'm Earth 8105.
Oh, okay, that makes. I thought you were Earth 616. Okay,
Yeah.
Now it all makes sense. Let's absolutely get into it. Are you ready to talk movies?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk movies. I'm ready to talk the Spider-Mans, and all of this multiverse jumping and all that stuff like that. But yeah, obviously, the brand new movie for the week is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I said last month when Guardians of the Galaxy came out that was like the unofficial start to summer blockbuster season, but this was the one I felt was really a kickoff to summer blockbuster season, because it was a movie that they really started their preview night showings really, really early, 2 p.m. ish. And like, I don't know how it was for you when you eventually saw yours, but you know me, I always tend to go to my early showings and all that stuff. So I went to like a 2 p.m. showing, and it was filled with nothing. Well, I wouldn't say nothing, but it was mostly kids. Mostly, like, I want to say higher end grade school, high school kids. And it makes sense because I saw it in a more residential type of neighborhood. So I feel like that is the type of crowd you would get. But I also did get a lot of people who are like more adults, a lot of groups of people went to watch this movie. So it felt like a true event movie. That's really what I think the best way to describe it. But yeah, we'll get more into that, and we'll talk more about our excitement about all that stuff like that. So for those of you who are listening, watching, all that good stuff, thank you so much for tuning in again. If you are unaware, we are the Movie Time Movie Review Podcast, where every week we talk about and bullshit about movies. Just got two buds who love movies, and that's what we do. Make sure, if you like what you hear or see, to follow, subscribe, do all that nice, kind stuff. On the YouTubes, you could hit that like button, hit the notification bell to get notified every time a brand new episode is uploaded. Obviously, if you're listening, you're probably either on Spotify or iTunes or one of the other various. That's a good question. You know how everyone always talks about Spotify and iTunes for podcast platforms? Do people talk about the other ones, like Stitcher? Like, are you familiar with like? Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, yeah, I've heard ads for it when I'm listening to it on an Apple Podcast. Yeah, they say listen on Stitcher, and they name another one too.
Right.
And I hear that when I listen on the one that I already am on for music, or my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't. I've tried them. It's like kind of like a title problem. Like, I'm not going to go to another app when I'm already doing this app. Like, I'm already comfy.
Which is like the weirdest advertising thing to do, the marketing thing to do, where you're like, hey, you're listening to me on iTunes. By the way, Stitcher, blah, blah, blah.
What if this was more inconvenient for you? Have you considered that? That's our selling point.
Right.
No, You're comfy in bed and you don't want to get up and go get to whatever, You're taking a nap on the couch. The bed might be better. You're already on the couch. You're already sleeping. You're like, I'm good. I'm just going to sleep here tonight. And then you fall asleep. Yeah.
And then that's it. Yeah. So, but yeah, if you're on any other platforms, hey, thank you for at least listening to us on those platforms, because we are truly thankful for that. The reason why I also bring that up is because I was recently looking at some of our stats for the podcast, and it breaks down platforms, people who listen to you on platforms and all that. We get, before it was majority Spotify, or I should say iTunes, or maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Well, I pull it up right now,
Also, you said
and
Spot, and this isn't a spoiler, but like, please don't trigger Spider-Man. That was
no,
a tough moment for the guy.
oh, poor Spot. Yeah, we'll get to Spot in a minute, but so right now, almost 60% of our audience on podcast listen to us on Spotify, which is pretty fascinating, and we have a good 20% on Apple Podcasts. Um, this is a funny stat. We have 3.5% on Amazon Alexa. So
Hello.
is that like Amazon's music service that they're listening to us on?
Hey Alexa, click subscribe. Did that work? I don't know if that works, but
Hey, I just saw a tick in the numbers. There we go.
40.
And then there's this funny stat where it's almost 16% other. So
That's gonna be Stitcher.
that's
Who else?
Stitcher. That has to be all Stitcher, right? So that
Yeah, I know there are other ones. I don't know what they are.
yeah.
Okay.
So I
Cool.
find that extremely fascinating. This is the kind of stuff I like to like look into, just to understand our audience a little bit more. Can you guess what is the number one device that people listen to us on?
I'm gonna go ahead and say transmogrifier.
Ooh, that's
Radio.
oh, that's good. Oh, yeah, it would be amazing if we were on radio. Have you heard the reports of people trying to save AM because the AM stations can no longer support themselves on that frequency because it costs a lot of money?
I mean, it's called am not.
Nice.
Thanks.
So it'd be nice if we imagine we had like an AM station here in New York for ourselves.
Yeah. Start a GoFundMe right now.
That's
and
it.
Everyone who's tuning in, we normally talk about movies. We don't talk about
I
places
know,
to talk about
yeah.
movies. But I'm very glad that you're here and are really on the inside baseball track with us.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Hey, yeah, again, we're this is a good way you're listening to behind the scenes stuff. We're giving you an insight of our world.
This is
those
right before Rene's about to do his mukbang Spider-Verse
that's
hamburger
it.
review. So if you really
Exactly.
want the paywall stuff, welcome.
It's
Thanks for
good
joining
stuff.
us.
Yeah. For all you 65% in the US listening to us and 8% in the United Kingdom. What's up, UK?
He's going deep on the numbers, everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
Are you keeping score at home?
Yeah, please do. You're going to get quizzed on this later on in the episode. And that's how we truly know you're listening to us.
This is a game show about us. So thank you again. We're so glad you're able to participate. The winnings, getting to listen to us talk more about that. Now we're going triple meta.
Oh, yeah.
We're in real Spider-Verse territory right now.
Oh, we really are. We really are.
Layers deep can we get?
Yeah. And to really, understand how much of the multiverse Spider-Verse we're into, I can't even believe we're in June. I feel like this year is just like slowly slipping away from us. But as we approach the start of June, and the reason why I kind of brought up Guardians and all that, I kind of like when we do like a recap of the previous month. We talk about like, okay, what was your favorite movie for the last month or whatever the case is. So I kind of want to call this segment the report card, the movie report card. And let's maybe we could go through what our top rated or most enjoyable movies that came out in the month of May. So for myself, I would say my highest rated and most enjoyable movie that I saw in the month of May was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Above Spider.
So it's technically Spider-Man is a June movie because today we're recording this June 2nd.
Oh,
so,
I see.
Yeah.
Because Thursday. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yep. Sure.
Yeah. It just made that hump of the month transition.
Work. I want to make that clear here. Next episode, we're going to get behind the scenes on like how well we know our months.
That's
and
right.
Be like our own little game show.
How do we read calendars? Like what?
I'm
Okay.
going to give you a really hard time for the record if you were like, oh yeah, Little Mermaid, Spider-Verse, and Guardians of the Galaxy. I like the IP where it's the white guy taking the role meant for a white guy. I was going to give you just a little bit of shit for that.
You can give me any kind of shit you want, so you know that. You have carte blanche.
I'm so tempted to give my top spot to Little Mermaid. You do your list and then I'll do mine. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
And then again, follow up for next episode is we're gonna debate the topic. Which day officially starts off the week? Is it Monday or Sunday?
Is summer starting at Memorial Day? Is it when the summer solstice?
Solstice, yeah.
Is it the hottest? When the sun is we got to get into it, guys. We're talking about movie summer season. We're talking about blockbusters. What are we talking about? Yeah.
We got to get into the weeds
before, so they get that Memorial Day. They get the jump start, the word of mouth stuff. Is Mario a summer movie? No one knows. We'll find out.
Except for those of you who know how to read calendars, because Mario came out in April.
That was a whole debate we had off air. Rene,
that is true. That is true. No problem.
Still working on my months. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. So my top rated movie in the month of May was Guardians, Volume 3. I gave that a 5-star rating. I still have yet to go back and rewatch it, because I've just been busy with a lot of stuff. But that is a movie, the first movie of the year that I felt I needed to rewatch, because that movie was just so enjoyable. And then second, it's a tie. No, it's not a tie. So it is Little Mermaid, with my 4-star rating for Little Mermaid there. I almost said tie because I also saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish for the first time last month, and I gave that a 4-star rating. So yeah. So, but that is not enough. That came out last year. Yeah.
Okay.
And then my worst. Yeah, we'll talk about years.
You got to get months first, master that, and then you figure out.
Yeah, that'll be the follow-up of the follow-up. So yeah, we have a lot of great episodes coming up. So that's why more of a reason for you guys to subscribe and follow. My worst movie was this movie called Shin Kamen Rider. It's a Japanese superhero live action movie based off of a very iconic Japanese superhero. Kind of in the vein of like Power Rangers in a way. The reason why I saw that was, one, I won a contest to the North American premiere that happened at Japan Society, which is not that far from you. So I was in your hood that night. And I was curious about it. I was just really curious. What's that?
Stop by. It's a block away. You didn't do the, hey, I'm in your neighborhood, you want to grab a drink? You didn't do the, like, hey, I'm driving by, you want to wave? It's got a one-way street. I know you had to come down my block. I'm not doxing myself. Moving on.
See, I was trying to avoid all that. Buddy. You just did that to yourself. So I just said you were in the vicinity.
No one knows which block.
That's true. It could be one of many.
Talk to me about Little Mermaid in person.
That's
I love that movie. Okay.
Yes.
You didn't like this movie, but it's a new movie.
It's a movie. It's new for North American audiences. It's the first time that North America. Yeah, it came out in May. It's one of those Fathom event movies. You've seen those ads for those Fathom events, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but there is a fever for it because it was only supposed to be for one night. Due to popular demand, they added another night in June for people to watch it. So it's getting a lot of traction. I just personally didn't like it because I never watched the original shows and all that. So I didn't have any kind of, attachment to this character. In the screening, you could tell they were super fans there, and they ate it up. They loved every minute of it. So I think my enjoyment of that movie was primarily because I enjoyed seeing their reaction to it. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I gave it a 2 stars. It's not terrible, but it just wasn't for me. But it got me curious. Like maybe I may decide to go back and watch one of these episodes of the original show and just see how I feel about it. But yeah, that was my May report card. What about you?
So I'm going to give my top spot to Sanctuary because I'm a pervert and because I saw the Q&A in person with the director and Margaret Qualley. Jack Antonoff of great music fame hosted the Q&A. He's partnered with Margaret Qualley, the lead actress. Great movie, all set in one hotel room. Kind of like could have been a play, but the camera work was really well done. The design, production design, very well done. The acting was phenomenal. I fully recommend it if you're into that kind of like psychosexual drama thing. And I liked that aspect of it, but I also liked how it was made. I am more of an indie dude at the end of the day, and so that one I am going to put in my top spot, but right up there is Little Mermaid. I just
Nice.
don't. I feel like Little Mermaid's doing pretty damn well at the box office. Shout out Little Mermaid, and so I'm always gonna like lean toward an underdog in rankings. But Little Mermaid, we talked about, we geeked about, we low key and high key geeked about that one. We have a whole episode about it. I got
Yeah.
emotional in our recording after having gotten emotional at the screening. My first favorite movie ever when I was a kid. My childhood crush realized on screen all these songs that I know and love and listened to a million times growing up. And to me, better than the original. It's obviously more dimensional. I mean that
Mm.
like 3D versus 2D, but also like just it's a deeper plot. They change a couple things about it. I was moved and impressed and visually incredible. The concerns were, does it look good when we see some early trailers, and if you have to get the animals right, and how do you show things underwater that look realistic enough but not, like murky or whatever.
Right.
They crushed all that just hit out of the park. So they nailed that assignment. Loved it. It's been a low movie month for me. So the only other one I saw was Guardians, which means that is my opposite of you, lowest movie of the month. I've been deep in Succession territory. It's finally over. Feel free to hit us in the comments to talk about Succession, because Rene never wants to talk about it. It's not
I
his
have yet to see
thing.
it. I have yet to see it.
Yeah,
I want to see
but
it.
I mean, I honestly thought about just doing my own little thing. Like, all right, every week I'm talking about Succession. Like, but now it's too late for that. I love that show, and I was in that mode so hard. After watching an episode, I would listen to about 12 different podcasts. Anybody,
Mhm.
if you're just you and your buddy and you've got 10 listeners, I was just so desperate for content about Succession. I was listening through all of it. You're welcome. I'm sure half of the views of some of those listens for some of those pods. Now, since we're doing behind the scenes numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically what my month of May has been. I also got sick, got a little COVID at some
Right.
point, and
Right.
been busy. Summertime, going outside a little more. It wasn't so hot that you go to the movies to cool off. That's kind of a peak movie time for me in the summer. Other than that, we're talking blockbuster season mostly, event movies, and every now and then in India I really like Sanctuary. So that's my report
Nice.
card.
No, that's good. And it's a very Blake report card. Like I know how those type of indie movies are really your jam. And I'm not surprised to hear about that. Just honestly, hearing you talk about it makes me curious to watch it myself. And we before we started recording, we were talking about, is this out in theaters and all that? Because when I did a quick search, I couldn't find it showing anywhere. And then you told me it was playing in the Astoria Theater, where I doxed those two slobs that we talked about during our Little Mermaid episode. And I was
We're
like,
like a doxing podcast at the end of the day, really.
yeah, that's what we do.
do.
Yeah, we go around and we just dox people and all.
What movie theater were you at, and what seat specifically, and where are you going to be later tonight?
Oh,
Yeah.
I got something to tell you. I'm more and more convinced we need to do a special video or episode where we just talk about all of our annoyances of all types of people that go to movies, because there's like a laundry list that we have, because there was, we'll get into that in a little bit, but
no.
But yeah, I am so curious to watch that movie now. And a movie that we talked about briefly before recording, another one that kind of came out that it's been getting good buzz, especially in the indie realm, is You Hurt My Feelings, the A24 movie with Juliette Louis-Dreyfus and all. So I obviously there's some movies I personally want to catch up on. So that summer season makes it kind of interesting, because now we're so inundated with all of these new blockbuster movies coming out that sometimes it takes away moments for these like little indie darlings to shine through at times, right? So, and I feel like, unlike last year where a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once had a moment to shine brilliantly for a good amount of time, now movie theaters are just flooded with all of these major Hollywood movies because of being pushed back and everything. And now people are actually going out to watch these movies. And, kind of like what I hinted at, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse felt truly like the first event movie of the summer because of the amount of people I saw coming out for this. at a 2 p.m. showing, on a
Yeah,
Thursday, which is like
it's wild.
really, really crazy. But yeah, let us know if you are on either YouTube or podcast. I know they allow you to comment on podcasts and stuff like that. But what was your favorite movie of the month of May? What was your worst movie of the month of May? And definitely let us know in the comments. We love having those conversations with all of you about that stuff. Also, I wanted to touch base real quick on the box office for Little Mermaid because you say it's been killing it. That may be true domestically, not so much internationally.
Interesting.
Yeah, where I believe the report was when it came out in China. Let's see, China box office. Ooh, look at this. Opening weekend in China was only 2.6 million.
Huh.
Overall, it's only 3 million.
There's not
And
very many people in China though, so that's
it makes sense, right? It
fine.
it,
Yeah,
it kind of
that's
tracks.
okay.
And here's like just to get an understanding of how terrible this number is. It's showing on 32,800 screens in China. And it only made that much. While if you look at domestic box office, hold on, let me pull this number up. It's showing at it doesn't tell you screens per se, but it's 4,320 theaters in the US. And it's already up to 145 million. So can we say China is a little bit prejudiced, maybe?
I'm reading up on it. Basically, it's more nuanced than that, but that is a thing, of
Yeah,
course. And then, like when they'll put a poster out in for a Chinese poster, they will like what's the word? Not whitewash, even like it's blue wash in this case. Like you can see
right,
the water over her skin,
right.
kind of.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the poster. I could also imagine sometimes, especially if there's a language barrier, musicals, and I'm not going to read the rest of this article and just report what I'm seeing from
Mm-hmm.
whateverreport.com. But one thing I'm thinking is musicals are going to be a tougher sell when you're reading lyrics. I went to, there's a French institute in New York and they play French movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I love a musical. And I even have like the poster for Umbrellas de Cherbourg on my wall, but it's not quite the same when you're reading lyrics and hearing
Sure.
the rhyme in another language, right? And it's just more complicated, like poetry. Having it translated, it's music is harder to enjoy that way or like to sing along with, right? If you're not, if you're just looking at a translation on the screen. So maybe that's part of the vibe. I don't know, because it's a very musical, even for Disney musicals, right? It's a very
Yeah.
music heavy one, and then genres are going to be less popular in some places than others, etc. That's
Yeah.
my gut. I'm sure there's other stuff going on. I'm sure as far as movie tastes and Disney and whatever else, but I'm not trying to downplay.
Oh,
If
no, no,
we want
no.
if we want to say race is part of it, I'm not surprised by any explanation. I was trying to think of what else it might be on top of that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I would like wonder, and I don't know if there will ever be a stat for this. And I'm sure if you do enough digging and all, is how well were the original Disney animated movies
That was my other
received?
question, right? Do you get in 1988 or 1989,
Right.
or if Aladdin and Lion King and later Toy Story are more popular there, those IPs are going to be more valuable. But if Little
Right.
Mermaid didn't really break through, that's a good question.
Yeah,
How
I'm
successful
curious
is that
about
one?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the original was not a beloved or as beloved as it was here in the States. So when you do that versus maybe like a Mulan, right, where obviously it's based more on Chinese roots and history and all that. That something like that could do much better at the box office in China versus a story from Hans Christian Andersen about a mermaid and all that. So
Well, so this is fascinating. I've seen two articles now. China is pretty much the world's biggest Little Mermaid fan. The headline is
really,
something like that, but they're not talking about the Disney cartoon, which almost makes it make more sense. There's apparently like a theme park, or there was talk of a theme park for the Hans Christian Andersen
okay,
fairy tale.
yeah,
And if that's what you want, that's not really what you're getting with Little Mermaid. It would be
no,
pretty dang corny. So if that fairy tale isn't very popular in America. at all. If that fairy tale is popular there, then your watered down, pardon the pun, Little Mermaid Disneyfied version isn't going to be as hot. I could see that
Right.
as another information. Okay.
It's interesting. It is definitely interesting. So something to keep in mind. And it's a shame because I it adds to the unfortunate narrative about this movie.
More unfortunate narrative. What?
Narrative. Like when you have a lot of people who are against this movie for multiple reasons, and now this is cannon to the fire. This is fuel to the fire. Like, see, we told you. Like, no one likes this movie. No one wants this movie. Yeah, it's like, come on. Yeah, like.
Oh, you did the Adam Sandler voice for these idiots.
Yeah,
That's
hello. Hello,
what we need to do.
Swan.
Sandler voice. Yeah, exactly. It's a fairly problematic voice. You just take it and put it on the jerks.
That's it. Yeah.
And haters, and racists,
Yeah.
and the Nazis, and use his voice for that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what I heard in my mind, in my head, when the two slobs kept talking throughout the movie. I was like, did you see that? I would have downloaded that song on Spotify.
You're really good at doing Adam Sandler's impression.
Oh, thanks. Speaking of slobs, let's talk about Spider-Man. I don't know what kind of transition that was. But yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is the sequel to the movie that came out in 2018. Very well received movie when that first came out. I think it's safe to say that this movie really defined a new generation of animation because it introduced a lot of things that I feel like a lot of studios didn't think about, and that's basically blending different styles of animation into one film.
We can't say introduced, but we can definitely say it popularized it.
It popularized it, yes. You're right.
To mass audiences and said this can be successful. You don't have to keep doing the Pixar eyeballs for every single damn animated movie out there. And we've even seen it in the last couple of years where some Oscar nominees are doing this, and Puss in Boots did this, and the Mitchells versus the Machines might be the title of it.
Yes.
A couple years ago. Yeah. We've seen it now take off because this was so damn popular. It convinces the money makers, and hey, we could spend some money on a more interesting art project of an animated movie.
Yeah, and it shows like the amount of care put in an animated film. We're seeing that also in the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, where they're using the same kind of like dropped frame style of animation, where everything is like, you could see like there's this hint of choppiness and all that. So it definitely did a lot of that to kind of pave the way to popularize this type of animation style. But I think on top of all that, it also introduced us to very first Black Spider-Man, which a lot of fans were waiting for a very long time. And it introduced us to just a different version of the Spider-Man mythos that I think people who are fans of the comic book are already familiar with, but general audience were not. And it was just a really well done movie. It was definitely one of my favorite movies of that year. For a while, it was probably my most favorite Spider-Man movies until the more recent Tom Holland one, Far From Home, came out. Is it Far From Home or No Way Home? No, No Way Home. With Coming Home.
Who's home?
Home is where the heart is.
Honey, I'm home. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, that one. That's the one. Honey, I'm home. It's Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3. And then this one comes out. So this movie has a lot going for itself. Obviously, it's a sequel to a very popular film. It is also, from what I know or what I believe, it's the longest running American animated feature film to ever come out, clocking in at 2 hours and 16 minutes. And it introduces and plays a role with the whole multiverse stuff. So we are being introduced and kind of slapped in the face with all of these versions of Spider-Man. And I loved every minute of it. It was so fun, so entertaining. This is one of those movies where I need to have a physical copy or a digital copy where I could just pause through a lot of the scenes so I can call out, oh, I remember that one. I remember that guy. And that, because one of the things that I kind of also was worried about was, are they doing this just for the gimmick of, hey, fans, we know you love the comics. Here are all these characters, but then none of them will be like very prominent, right? Or they're just there for background. And for people like what I just said, would just sit down, pause the video, and just kind of do their, these are the Spider-Man, in Across the Spider-Verse explained video on YouTube or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
But they did utilize some of these new Spider-Man, and they were part of the story. They were front and center. A lot of them were. They, had a lot of interactions with some of these random Spider-Man, and I thought it was it was handled very well. But outside of the spectacle and the fantasy and all that stuff, it was also a very well written story. It definitely continues from where we left off in the first one, but it dived more into the Gwen Stacy character, and also the Miles Morales character. So they really focus on two in different ways, where Gwen is looking for a place to belong and trying to find her meaning of existence and all that. Family. I feel like family is like a big thing here because, we are told, and this is not spoiler territory just yet, but Gwen's family situation is kind of questionable, so she's looking for a steady family to belong to. Miles already has a family, but he is struggling with protecting that family and knowing how to, work well with that family he already has, while still opening himself up to the possibilities of expanding that family. Right. So you're dealing with a lot of that stuff here, and it's done so well. There are a lot of times where I felt very emotional because of the subject matter, because of things that were transpiring. There was a good amount of laughs too, a lot of good blend of comedy in there. But at the end of the day, it was one of those movies where when it ended, I was actually surprised that it ended. I was like, wait a minute, we're stopping here?
The Fast X response. Yeah.
Yeah. It was exactly how I felt at the end of Fast X. I was like, we're stopping here? That's exactly how I reacted at the end of that movie and this movie. But without spoiling anything and talking about why that is, it was one of those movies where even after the 2 hour, 16-minute mark, I was ready for more. And I could have easily sat through more if they were to show us more of that. But I really enjoyed it. This is, again, when I say Guardians of the Galaxy is the first movie of the year that I want to rewatch, this is the second one. This is the one that I really, really want to rewatch again. What were your initial thoughts of the movie when you watched it there, Blake?
Yeah, so I saw it just like a normal Thursday evening showing, very full theater, not 100%, but as close as you get, just under that. Crowd super loved it. Mine wasn't kids, and maybe it's because the time you saw it or the area. We're in now summer season, so if you see a movie at the certain time, certain day, it might just be full field trip vibes in there, and you're playing babysitter while someone's kid throws popcorn on you.
Definitely a lot of backpacks. I will say that. Definitely a lot of backpacks.
The theater loved it. I absolutely loved it. You're right about the laughs. I was surprised about the amount of laughter. I think I had a similar experience as a lot of other folks with the original movie. It was more of a home movie watch, and it was a word of mouth movie for sure, and it was a COVID movie for a lot of people. So I saw the original one at home after the fact. It was nice to see this movie in theaters, and it really drove home. I know I laughed and thought the first one was funny and had humor in it. This theater was busting up quite a bit, and definitely into it. I heard some moments. There's some family sadness going on in it. We're not doing spoilers yet, but there's some moments, and the one where he's getting a speech about how he can trust himself and how he should feel empowered, and he's like he has in the movie he has some family dynamic where his parents aren't trusting him. He's out there. He's got his little double life thing going on, which is the tension in all the Spider-Man movies. This one, and especially with the casting of the main character, and the family, it made it even more resonant for a lot of folks in the theater, it seemed. Um, Overall, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 on Letterboxd. Um, I enjoyed the hell out of it. There was a couple parts where I felt confused or it felt a little long. That's also 100% on me. That day I was just like tired and I was more in an ADHD mode and not necessarily paying full attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem I have with a lot of multiverse movies. So I know I can say I enjoyed it. I understand the plot now. I had to go back over the synopsis afterward. If you're good at following along with movies, it's not that complicated. It's just like I wasn't on that day of like, oh, I know
Yeah.
exactly what universe I'm in and how we got here. Um, but that's part of what I like about these movies is they're more expansive and interesting, and all the different animation styles, which is the other reason why I'm distracted during is I'm captivated by those.
Yeah.
I really enjoy how dynamic the art is in these movies, and they use it to enhance the story, not just to be cute about it. It literally, there's times where you're seeing different worlds collide and you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing different animation styles collide, and I can't get enough of that. I think that is fascinating,
Yeah.
and those certain clips in this movie belong in a museum today.
Yeah.
So overall, I high marks for me. I don't know how it'll rank. This is definitely more of a you movie than a me movie. That said, even with that in mind, I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think a great thing to touch base on first as we continue to talk about this movie is the animation style, because they stepped it up several levels in this one.
You're saying a
And
lot. The first one was
whew,
mind blowing. This one was almost overwhelming. It was so
yeah,
good.
it's definitely one of those things where you ask yourself, how could they top what they did in the last movie, like visually? And my God, I feel like they blew it away. They really blew it away, and it's like they reinvented what they kind of put out there, and kind of like
Yeah.
gave us a new spin on it. But quickly, I want to talk about my audience experience,
Oh no.
because again, since there were kids and interesting adults watching this movie. First of all, the downside of watching a movie with a bunch of kids is that you can't control behavior, especially when you got a bunch of boys who are in a group. So you had a lot of people, a lot of these boys kept running up and down the stairs to go out and refill their popcorns or go to the bathroom. So no, you're watching a movie, and it could be like during a silent part, and all you hear is dun 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 ba-dun. And you see like the kid like trying to crawl in front of you as they're going out the exit. It got so bad at one point you heard someone scream out, "Stop running!" It's just so funny. And then I didn't hear it so much myself, but I'm sure people in the back heard it a lot. I guess they kept talking, and it got to the point where I think one of the boys said to another boy, like, "Shut the fuck up," like that. That I saw an usher from outside come in and do one of he stands and like scans the audience to see where the trouble's
They
coming
never
from.
do that.
I know.
The staff never cares. That's how bad it was.
I
The
think
staff
so.
said we got to get involved.
I think
That's
so.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
Because
like
again,
nuclear threat level orange, or I don't know how those systems work, but
right.
yeah, that is just all high alert. If one member of a staff ever, the movie could literally be no sound, and it takes 10 minutes to get someone in
It's
there.
so true.
My
It's so true.
God, it must have been chaos.
Yeah. Again, I didn't hear it because I was closer to the front, but I'm sure many people in the back heard it. So it could be maybe someone went out and reported it or whatever, you know. But yeah, he did the whole scanning, saw where it's coming from, and I saw he did the slow walk, right? As he goes up the stairs. And then he was back there at least a good 5 minutes. And then he comes back walking back down and does like again the slow walk outside. And then I guess things improved. I don't know, but I still heard the running. You know, as kids have to go to the bathroom. You know, so you hear dun 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 dun, and you know, and all that. Like I don't know why kids and people in general, like when they run downstairs, they love to jump at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do the
fun.
whole jump.
What do you mean? Yeah.
I know, I did it too. I admit,
Of course.
but yeah, that's like the worst place to do it is in a movie theater because like you hear every vibration, you feel every vibration and all that. Um, and then the next experience and probably the worst was there was a group of adults behind me. I think there were like 3 or 4 of them. And it wasn't so much that they were talking through the movie, but I felt like after every important line, one of them kept repeating it. So let's say, for example, there is a dialogue between Gwen and Miles, right? And Miles says, I can't do that because of my mom. And then I'll hear, he can't do it because of his mom.
Bro, that'll ruin. I like to go to comedy clubs and people do that. And I've been with someone. I had to be like, hey, it doesn't help. You don't have to repeat the last
Right.
thing.
Right.
It's kind of like, it's almost like you're in church. You're like, amen kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Like, people think like it's like reaffirming it for them. They're like, yeah, that's really good. But do it in your head.
Right.
In our theater etiquette episode, when we go hard, that'll be one of the things.
That has to be. Yeah.
Keep the thoughts in your head.
It just has to be in here. Like, I understand
if you're like a or ha, nice,
right,
or something like that. Sure. But repeating the actual line, it distills the power of the line.
Absolutely.
Now I no longer have the line in my head and the emotions of that. I have the person behind me saying that in their delivery, and they're like, oh, that was really deep for them. I wonder why. And now I'm thinking about them and not the actual movie.
Right.
I'm glad it was powerful for them. It's now half as good for me.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, and then again, it just now you anticipate it. It gets to a point where I was hearing it so much that I was anticipating it. Especially during a very important scene or dialogue between 2 people. I'm just waiting for okay, here comes the recap. Here comes the recap, and then it happens, right? Or understanding who Miles Morales is and who their family is. He is what do they call it? There's a term for it, but he is mixed Hispanic and African American because his mom is Dominican and his dad is Black. So his mom tends to speak to him in Spanish or Spanglish, right? So there are a lot of moments in this film where she's speaking to him straight up in Spanish. I guess one of them spoke Spanish because they translated everything she said to whoever they were sitting with, which is fine. Like, I get that. It's like when you're trying to explain something to somebody, sometimes it's necessary. Do it in a lower voice, though. Not so much. So
one, the movie creators decided not to put subtitles on there.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
There's sometimes where that can enhance the story. There's other times where it's like there's a bit of a politicization happening. Like, it's okay, you don't have to speak Spanish. And it's if it's a crucial line, I bet you what that would have been in a language or subtitles that everyone would make sure that they heard if you needed it. The next option, I make a point of it, and I'll like kind of like do this thing, bring the person up to the ear, and then block the hand, and then
exactly.
You can talk all day in the movie theater. No one else can hear you, and no one will be bothered. That's how sound works. If you're doing loud translations of the thing that's happening on the screen, if the teacher didn't call on you to say, hey, can you stand up and explain this to the class?
Right.
It's not very difficult, and sometimes you have to repeat yourself because you want to make sure no one else can hear you, and you might, and they go, and you go, and as long as at least you're intentionally doing that, even if the person in front of you can kind of hear something, they're like, oh, they're not going to ruin it. Like, I'm not currently feeling like my movie theater experience is under threat.
Right.
So
yeah. So there are ways to do it. Obviously, you and I know because we've done it. We've had to like explain something to somebody, but there's ways to do it where not everyone in the row in front of you can hear you. And I feel like this person or these people didn't understand that. But yeah, the one that got me the most was the recapping, because it wasn't so much like also the dialogue recapping, but it was also some visual recapping too.
Oh no!
Yeah, what's a great example that I can give that's not so spoilerish? Okay, so you've seen this in the trailer when Miles has to leave the meeting with the teacher or with guidance counselor. Because he sees the enemy outside still trying to steal the ATM machine. So he sees that. He's like, oh, I got to go, but this and that. And then I hear behind me, the guy's still trying to steal the ATM machine. I'm like, what? Just like,
yo, what's with your luck with the commentary, dude? That's awesome. You get free commentary.
I know.
Windows at a movie theater.
I know. And I didn't have to pay extra for that. Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice, dude.
Yeah, it's fascinating. But yeah, so that was kind of like my experience. And again, these are things that we'll definitely bring up whenever we do our special um movie theater etiquette episode. But yeah, let's quickly jump back to the animation style and all that. So I think one of the cool things that really stood out here, like I said, they leveled it up like tenfold in this one, was I loved how whenever they centralized the universes they're in. And just a heads up, now we are spoiler talk right now, so anything's a go. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, definitely fast forward through all of this stuff now, because we are gonna just let it all out, hang loose, all that stuff. But whenever we're introduced to a new world, each world that we're introduced to is in their own animation style, which I thought was fantastic. When we were in the Gwen Stacy universe, everything was kind of like watercolor. It was like very, very nicely done, various shades of color, not always precise color. You know, it was very more artistic. Yeah, and that kind of explains more of her background, because she is a dancer and all that. So she's very the artistic Spider-Man, right? And then obviously we go into the Miles universe, and everything's more like graffiti inspired, you know, city vibe, all that kind of type of art. We're introduced to this new character, Spider Punk, which I think is probably one of my favorite ones.
Fun.
Where, yeah, he's from England, he's from the UK, and everything is like a cover of the Sex Pistols album. It's like, you know, letters,
Ransom
like all
note.
random, yeah, ransom note letters and like paper cutouts and all that. And it's layered over him in multiple versions, and his humor and the way to display him is also very British. So it's so interesting and funny how they paid so much attention to that stuff. I read an article recently where it said just to get that look and his animation style, it took them 2 years to work on that. And I was just like, wow, if you have a group that is animating one character and it took them 2 years to finish all of that work, could you imagine all the other groups working on all the other characters in this movie? You know, it's just mind blowing to me, the amount of dedication and this is, at this point, it's passion and love in doing what you're doing, in caring for this film and this universe. And I love, like, we were introduced to a version of Mumbai where we get introduced to the Indian Spider-Man, who is actually, like, they did a comic run of this character in the comic books. So he was one of the characters I was really, really interested in seeing how they were going to portray. And he was so entertaining, so fun, very vibrant type of personality and all that. What was your favorite? What was the one thing that you saw that you're like, wow, this is fascinating?
Okay. We're
Yeah.
Donald Glover.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
They
Yes.
went 3D or whatever you want to call that with it. And I
Yeah.
was like, of course you have to. And of
Yeah.
course it's Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Mind blown. So happy. I love his music. Love the show Atlanta. Fan of his since Community. Like, fuck yeah. He's the actor. It's like him, or like you could almost do Lakeith Stanfield, but that's too weird. Like, it's Donald Glover's the person you'd do for that. I honestly was so taken aback. I didn't quite understand why it was happening. I was just happy.
Oh, I'll explain it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a great callback to, I believe it was Spider-Man. Which home are we in this one? The first Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Home Alone 2,
Yeah.
Lost in New York, Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man comes across Donald Glover. And he mentions that he has a nephew who is around, who's a big Spider-Man fan and all that. So in live action form, this is Miles's uncle. So obviously in animation form, we get Miles's uncle, who's portrayed by Mahershala Ali, as Prowler, Mahershala Ali, I always have trouble with his first name. It's really tough for me.
I have trouble with months, so
yeah. So yeah, it kind of correlates, yeah. But yeah, in the animation form, we get him as the Prowler, as his uncle in the first movie, who, you know, bites it at the end there. But we get another version of him in this movie that he comes back. But I loved how they, this movie, not only in animation style, but they mixed media. It's like a mixed media type of movie where we had Donald Glover in the animated world, and the reason why we see him is because in the Spider-Man, the Spider Society universe where Miguel O'Hara lives in, what they do is that they seem to have rounded up all of these villains that were picked up because they were connected to special events that happen in each of the universes that they're in. And I guess they're doing research and all that stuff like that. I believe that's the reason why they were capturing these villains and all that, because we saw villains from like old school Spider-Man movies, comic books, all that stuff. And given that Donald Glover is captured here, and he's wearing like an outfit, so we believe that in live action form, he has also become the Prowler, and he's kind of like doing all that. And Miles is just staring at him like in awe, like, "Wow, you look so weird, but at the same time, somewhat familiar." And Donald has that nice kind of comments like, "It's rude to stare." I thought that was like really funny. Yeah.
Thank you for the background. That makes more sense now. That was maybe my favorite Easter egg, if you will, in the movie.
Yeah.
Not sure Easter egg's the right term, but yeah, like little hidden gem.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, a lot of fans, I think, of the Spider-Man series would die when they see that. Another audible reaction that the audience gave was when Spot was going through multiverses, because we learned to find out that this Spot villain is a result of the ending of the first Spider-Verse movie, where when the collider thing exploded, it affected his molecular structure so that he has like these black holes or these multiverse holes where he could kind of like go through time, go through different multiverses. And in understanding that he can do that, he learns that he gets stronger the more he goes and transverses through all these multiverses. So we see him going through all these multiverses, and he goes into a live action universe where he talks to that Asian convenience store lady who is the same lady in the Venom movies. So Venom.
Thank you. That was really bothering me. I decided to not look it up. So okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew that, but I couldn't piece it together in real time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's great. That's another one
that was awesome. Fun. Yeah. And again, a huge audible response when that happened, because again, it reaffirms that Venom, all that stuff is within the same kind of quote unquote universe, right? So it's a nice like kind of connection. But it was just nice to see how like, oh, look at that. They're really throwing a lot of references to a lot of the Spider-Man related movies. We saw like little flashbacks of Andrew Garfield with during the Uncle Ben death, or the Captain Stacy death, I should say. Then especially when they're discussing and they're talking about these canon events, right? And the reason why Miguel is so insistent on making sure that everything is up to snuff, like everything is protected, is because Miles interrupted a canon event that happened on Mumbai when I believe it was the father of and the Indian Spider-Man's name is, what is it?
I literally just
Pavel.
And I have it. I just want to watch you try to think of it. This is really fun. I'm messing with you. I don't.
Yeah, I'm yeah.
So
Prabhakar. Prabhakar. Yeah. Again, great character, but his girlfriend in that universe, his dad is a police officer, and he was saved by Miles, but in reality, he was supposed to die, because the whole idea is that every Spider-Man from any universe that they're in has to have these life-changing events that helps push forward the character. In the original Spider-Mans, we always know that Uncle Ben is the reason that pushes Spider-Man and makes him become the person that he's in. The death of Gwen Stacy's father in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man also kind of helped push that narrative and all that. So the reason why they're so protective of that is because it helps create that person and maintains that universe that the Spider-Man belongs to. So with Miles saving this guy, it kind of breaks all that. So as they're kind of explaining all of that stuff, that's how we get a lot of these revelations of this is why you're supposed to do that, this is why you're supposed to do this, and everything like that. So it was just nice to see how they blended all of these universes and how each universe has and maintain their look and feel. And of course, we see that with all the different versions of the Spider-Man too. How the Spider Bite, who is just like AI generated version of a girl who's just at home on her VR set and all that. Like I thought that was really cute. And the animation style kind of reflected that. It kind of looked computer generated, right? It didn't look hand drawn or anything like that. So it was just amazing how they were able to really blend a lot of these media, this forms of media into this one movie. And I just found that the minute you saw Vulture in the museum and he looked like a paper mache or just like a bunch of like the old Renaissance paintings or drawings, like just how they were able to maintain that type of animation style. I thought that was so brilliant. So yeah, the animation style is definitely something that blew my mind, and that alone made the movie amazing. But outside of that, like we mentioned before, was the storylines. What was there? And obviously, there was. You said there were some things that you found confusing and all that. What parts of the storyline were you kind of surprised about, or were you like, oh, I still don't understand where this is going and all?
So I think it's twofold. One, the canon events concept, and then this is true as the MCU has gotten into multiverse stuff,
Sure.
where you're watching things kind of collapse on themselves sometimes, and I trust and believe that they have their own math, logic, and science behind it, where someone can explain it to me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I really need is I think it's Infinity War or Endgame. No, I think it's Endgame, where they literally have Tilda Swinton showing a light, and this is this timeline, here's this one, and if this changes, then this is the effect. I need a visualization, essentially.
Sure.
So when it's all done through dialogue and someone's yelling out, no, don't do that, or else this will happen to that, I'm then having a hard time keeping multiple universes in my head at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That said, one thing that helps with this movie is the different animation styles.
Yeah.
But also, at the end of the day, I'm okay with letting this one wash over me because it's so dense and such a rich text. Great storytelling, good jokes, great animation, all of that. There's so much to it packed in there. It's very clear that they took their time with it. Saying the 2 years, that's a long time, but it also looks like they took their time with this movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like one single frame was rushed. The casting, absolutely incredible. Just the art through and through, each person contributing to the film, very well done. And so what you then get is a very rich text and so many different things you could be paying attention to at any time. So because I'm not a plot-based person, I don't really need a plot to enjoy a movie. Some people go for the whodunit of it all. Are you frozen or am I? I don't know if I... Okay, you just
No.
stopped moving. Wow, that was
Oh,
impressive.
yeah.
This is incredibly still. Wow.
I'm listening.
Focus
I'm very
level.
intently listening.
No,
Yeah.
I'm glad. Okay. But some folks go to the movie just for the whodunit. I want to guess the ending, the murder mystery, and those are their plots. They want the box. What's it called? The puzzle movie. I really like just experiencing things, and each moment being disconnected, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I like indie cinema the way that I do, and there's just certain genres that really work well for me, and then ones that don't as well. So sci-fi isn't as much my bag once we get into this denser territory. If this movie didn't have all those other things going for it, I might kind of leave going like, okay, that felt like homework. I'm not sure I would go see another one. This was a special, highly artful cinematic experience, and was nice to see. And this one in particular, seeing it in the theater with a crowd who was super into it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get that laughter, that knowing laughter behind you, and you go, oh, I think this is a reference to something. Now I get to appreciate it at another level, look it up later. Maybe I go, oh, right, that is a reference to something that I might have missed otherwise. But at least there's so much intentionality just in every single pore and crevice of this film. it didn't necessarily bother me, but at the end of the day, it's nice to. This is why I like talking to you about movies. Anytime I see what I'm going to call a nerd movie,
Yeah.
we talk about it afterward, even if it's off camera. I go, "Hey, Rene, let's talk through this movie. Here's what I liked about it. It
Mhm.
reminds me of this, this, and that thing." And then you'll say, and then I'll ask you all my little questions of like, "Okay, so which one was Earth 42? And at what point did that start?" And you're able to track those things better. You have a
Yeah.
better mind for the comic book of it all.
Yeah. And I just remember a lot of that stuff too. Like
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where it just sticks in my mind. I mean, there are moments where I would like see something and I would also hear the audible response. I'm like, what are they responding to? And I have to kind of like dig deeper like after the fact. Not during the movie, because obviously I don't want to be that guy who's just like, what happened? And like, oh yeah. Hey, explainer guy. That was that guy from the
Ask one of the people who's talking next to you, be like, "Any thoughts on what's happening right now?"
I
I'm
know,
sure you'd love
right?
to talk out loud about it at theater.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably one of the reasons why Stan Lee is so damn famous. Is he gets the cameo in all these super popular movies, and what happens is the audience goes, "Hey!" And anyone who didn't know what he looked like gets a, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like,
Stan Lee. Now I know what he
yeah.
looks like.
Right.
Going to be one of the more recognizable faces in movies just because of the Easter
cameo.
egg effect.
Yeah, the little
of the
cameos.
audience reacting verbally and people going, "Who was that?"
Yeah.
That's interesting.
No, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about story. Because again, the two stories, like the main focuses here were definitely Gwen Stacy and Miles here. Gwen Stacy, I really love this character when she was introduced in the first movie. And we definitely got more into her background and why she does what she does and why she finds herself where she is right now. The movie basically starts off with like her origin, which is very fascinating, and I wasn't expecting that. So it basically retells like how in her universe, it's her loss of Peter, her which she considered to be her best friend, that kind of forces her to make her who she is. But then she has a rift with her dad, who finds out that she is this spider person and basically can't accept that, right? So because of that, she has to be on her own. And then when she gets this kind of like invite to join the Spider Society, she's like, wait, I could be with other people like me, and kind of be with a family. Yeah, I need that right now, because there's like nothing for me here. And she kind of goes off. And that's how she kind of reconnects with Miles, because she now gets the ability to kind of jump through multiverses to help Miguel with his kind of tracking down of this Spot character who is like messing all the multiverses up because of what they're doing. So all throughout the movie, it's Gwen's kind of progression is, well, how do I protect this family that I'm in? But also, I just met this guy, Miles, who I feel very connected to and very close to. How can he accept this for what it is and not freak out? Right. And of course, what happens? He freaks out. Right. But then in Miles' side, it's more because, well, wait a minute, like I have a family, and in my mind and the way I was raised is that I do everything to protect those I love. He lost his uncle, which was tragic for him. But for some reason, that wasn't the event that was supposed to happen to kind of push his narratives forward, right? He didn't have an Uncle Ben thing. He didn't have a Captain Stacy moment. And one of the things of like the whole canon event stuff is that a captain usually dies, right? So that's usually like Captain Stacy is like the father of Gwen Stacy, or that the captain in the Mumbai universe, he was supposed to die and all that. And he's like, wait a minute, my dad's about to become captain. Oh, I can't let this happen. No way. And the reason why they're all out for him is because he's just trying to go back home and stop all that from happening. While in reality and in comic books, those events are supposed to happen to kind of, again, create who you're supposed to be. But he's like, nah, man, I'm going to be who I'm going to be. Right. So he takes it into his own hands. and all that. And then he also gets a revelation that, well, that spider that bit you wasn't supposed to bite you. He was supposed to bite someone else from another universe, and which kind of leads into the really interesting ending that we got, and something that I didn't see coming, but at the same time, as it was playing out, I knew what was happening right away. But leading up into that, how did you feel about the stories of Gwen and Miles in this one? Did it make you more because I remember like our conversation when the first movie came out. You said your favorite characters coming out of that movie was Spider-Ham. Like Spider-Ham is hands down my favorite character. They need to do
That's
more
what you got me
movies
on
with
my
this
birthday
guy.
a couple years ago, and I got a birthday coming up. Just FYI, in case there's any new Spider-Ham comics.
Yeah.
No, for real. That was my running thing, and
Yeah.
it was a running joke in our lives. I was saying that at the Infinity, what was it in Infinity? You get to bring somebody back, or you have to. And I was really hoping. No, you have to sacrifice someone. I was really hoping they would just sacrifice. I was like, why don't you just sacrifice Spider-Ham? What's he doing right now? Go get him real quick. What?
Right.
That's who I would have to sacrifice because that's who I love the most in the universe. Yeah. So go on. That's the best.
So
Spider-Man.
Right. And I don't disagree with you. And I love the fact that it looks like we're going to be seeing him come back, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about the ending. But with the progression of the storylines between Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales and all that, how do you feel about their character progression now versus how they were introduced to you in the first film? Are you more invested in seeing where this goes from here?
So I'm not really watching for that, but what I will say, there's a couple moments during the movie where I was like, are they going to make this the Gwen Stacy movie?
Yeah.
Is this like, Guardians? Is this the Rocket Raccoon? Is this the Gwen Stacy movie? And I almost thought because we're seeing that happen all throughout the MCU of now this character is going to take over this arc and this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that would be really weird to sell it as the sequel with the same main character. So no way. They just featured her more prominently, and they might even be doing a volleyball, set spike where they try to set themselves up to where in the fourth, fifth movie, you don't have to be as dependent on Miles Morales, or you could do a spin-off TV show, something. So I could kind of see them setting themselves up for something like that. As far as the When Harry Met Sally, can they be friends or are they destined for love? And the Jim and Pam, will they, won't they moments of it all, they didn't feel effective to me, but I also didn't buy into the reality of it per se. There's a moment where he's about to do the upside down, shout out to the MTV Movie Awards from Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, the upside down kiss. That was Kiss of the Year in, I'm going to say 2002. I could be off by a little bit. Very important moment. I remember in middle school and high school, people were talking about that movie, and there were people saying, what I want will be the most romantic thing in the world is an upside down kiss.
Upside down kiss.
Like Spider-Man. It's a whole thing. Yep. They created a whole genre of kissing.
Yeah. And
they referenced it in this movie. The upside down kiss hadn't been doing so hot for the thousands of years before that, and now it's having a moment. They did a little reference to that. I kind of, no offense, I don't care. I like the action, the animation. Miles's backstory to me is a lot more interesting than Gwen's. I really liked Our Time in India a lot. I thought that character's comic timing, because if I recall, and I'm just doing it based off voice, so I might be wrong. I think it's the dude who plays the taxi driver in Deadpool, who has his own career, his own name, and he even had his own movie or TV show recently where he was the star. So here that comic timing. The first time I saw him was in Deadpool, and that comic timing is special. I'm going to pull up the casting just in case I'm not making some atrocious mischaracterization.
I'm looking at it right now, and yes, he is the same guy in Deadpool. As far as what he's been in, he was in a Miracle Workers Dark Ages series with Harry Potter there. He was in a movie called 7 Days.
Detective Pikachu.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But it is exactly the same dude.
His comic timing is so good. He
Very
needs
good.
More opportunities like this. And this character, I could almost see if if it was a smaller character, and then they were like, actually, this is really good content. The timing, the delivery, the jokes written for that character were fantastic. I think he and the punk one are the standouts for me. I
Yeah.
really liked Issa Rae's character too. These were all the punk dude. I wasn't able to identify the voice, but Issa Rae and then that actor Karan Soni. I was Oscar Isaac. I missed apparently. Jason Schwartzman was a fun one to pull. Brian Tyree Henry. I'm hearing his voice throughout. That's a fun thing about these movies is the voice casting. I'm looking at probably about 20 names that I know and are famous.
Yeah.
Some of them more than others, but maybe even more than that. This cast list is wild.
Yeah.
That stuff to me is more interesting than the actual, like the romance side plot. Maybe I just didn't get into the chemistry of it because I'm normally a sucker for it. I was excited. It was cute. Like where they're doing the rooftop date and the mom interrupts them and they have this awkward tension moment and it's clear
Right.
they like each other, but they're like, no, we're just friends. Like that
Yeah.
stuff to me is really cute. That's not to me with this. If the story is hinging on that, then that's not the part that I'm most interested in.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's not, I get that. I understand that. But yeah, this, like we hinted on multiple times that this movie definitely introduced a lot of different characters to us. And there are clearly a bunch of standouts, like, again, the Indian Spider-Man by Karan, Issa Rae's Spider-Woman, I thought was very fascinating. Amanda Stenberg as the Spider Bite, the VR version of Spider-Man. Daniel Kaluuya, that is Spider-Punk. Yeah.
Okay, I heard the voice, saw Daniel Kaluuya. I couldn't quite. Bravo.
Yeah, very well done.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Which this is a dude who's multiple time Oscar nominee, Oscar winner, just going into Spider-Punk. Bless him for doing that.
I hope he returns because his character was so enjoyable and again anti-establishment, again Sex Pistols punk of the era, of the 70s 80s, and he kind of never wants to follow rules, and he says that all the time too. He's like, I don't follow rules, mate. And as everything was kind of breaking down, as everyone's chasing Miles Morales, he's like, you know what, I'm out. I quit this. He was encouraging Miles to kind of fight against the establishment. And when he saw it happen, he got a joy out of it. And he's like, you know what? I'm good. I'm out of here. And he kind of quits the society without really telling everyone. But later on, it comes to help out with Gwen Stacy because he left behind his little multiverse transponder thingy-majiggy that helps them jump through all the multiverses. And then it leads us to the interesting ending that we got. So I think I share with you my favorite characters that we were introduced to were Indian Spider-Man, Spider-Punk. I definitely also enjoyed just seeing callbacks to all of these other Spider-Men that I saw growing up. There was this one during they were all kind of trying to talk Miles into understanding the whole canon event, and they kind of circled him. And there was this one that came out that looked like a very short Spider-Man. And I only heard certain people in the back catch who he was. And this was Spectacular Spider-Man, which was an animated show on MTV that I believe was voiced by Neil Patrick Harris. So I believe that was that version of Spider-Man. I could be wrong. But again, it shows you the care that they went into recalling all of this stuff. We even saw a nice little cameo by the 1960s animated Spider-Man as he's kind of swinging to the screen, and he stopped because something happened. He could progress any further. I think that they lost animation for him or something. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry, did he hit the TV screen?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Okay. He hit the screen, and I thought that was really hilarious. That was very comical. But yeah, at the end there, so Miles finds his way back home, and Gwen Stacy is trying her darndest to catch up to him because she is trying to get him to understand why this is important, but at the same time, she is seeing it through his eyes. And she's getting to that point where she's like, you know what? He's right. It's like, why shouldn't we try to stop these things from happening and everything? And of course, Peter B. Parker comes back with his new baby. So she's asking for help. It's like, we need to get Miles. We need to team up with Miles and try to fix all this stuff that's happening and everything. So they go off and chase after him. Miles ends up back home. He has this amazing moment with his mom, saying like, I understand now. I'm stronger now. There's things that we can't hide from each other. I've learned all this from you and from Dad. And, he gets to that point where he has to tell the truth. And he's like, I'm Spider-Man. And he reveals himself to his mom that I'm Spider-Man here. And then she's like, Spider who? Like, who? Like, is this like a Comic-Con thing? I think that was really funny how she brought that up.
Comics-Con.
Comics-Con. Yeah, is this like a Comics-Con thing where you dress up as a superhero? You're crazy. You're all silly. I don't have time for this and all that. And then he starts to realize, like, wait a minute. Something doesn't feel right here. And then the door opens up and he sees walking through. It's not his dad, but it's his uncle. So that's when it finally dawns on him. He's like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong universe. And I thought that was brilliant how they kind of like, they kind of tricked us. They did a twist where,
oh yeah. They show her in the room, and then he's in the room, and it looks like she's listening.
Yep.
Gwen Stacy's listening to his conversation.
Yeah.
And then she looks around, it's an empty room. And then it does her Spidey sense. She goes, he's in the wrong universe.
Yeah.
That was well done. It got me
so
for
good.
sure.
Yeah. Like, I didn't see this coming, but as he was having the conversation with the mom, and they kept doing the back and forth, right? So Gwen is like by the window. Yeah. And you think she's listening, but obviously there was no one in the room. And there's a lot of that going on. And I'm just like, wait a minute. What if? I was like, what if he's not in the right universe? Like, how brilliant would that be? And then bam, we learned that he's not. And not only is he not in the right universe, but he is in the universe where that spider was supposed to be. It was at Earth 42 or whatever the case is.
Yep.
And because that spider didn't bite anyone, this is a world without a Spider-Man. So we get to see like everything is in chaos. Everything. It looks like something out of The Crow, where you get fires everywhere. You have like, it's like Back to the Future 2, where he goes into that the 1985 version where Biff is like now the Donald Trump of the world, So it's like everything is in ruins and shambles. He's hanging out with his uncle. He gets cold cocked in the side of the face, and he sees the new Prowler, and it's revealed, boom, bam, bam, bam. The Prowler in that universe is actually Miles Morales. And I was just like, what? This is where we're going with this? I'm like, that is so fascinating. That's like the best twist plot I've ever seen. I did not see this coming. And then Gwen Stacy is unfortunately in the universe where he's supposed to be. And she's like, fuck. I need to really get him, because he's in a world of hurt right now. This is not going to end well. And he calls back all of these. She calls back all of these people to help her out. And we get this nice ending shot there. Two nice ending shots where you have Miles and Miles going face to face, right?
Brilliant.
Stare down. Like, okay, what's going to happen here? And then you have Gwen Stacy showing up with her crew in tow. So we got Indian Spider-Man. We got Spider Bite, who she's teamed up with. We have, of course, Peter B. Parker with Baby in tow. And we get Spider Noir, Spider Ham back in the mix. And Penny, the Japanese Spider-Man, with her new robot, that she built, that we saw a glimpse of during that whole like quote unquote intervention with Miles. And that was another big gasp the audience had, was when Penny showed up again. We're like, oh, she's back. And now this is the crew here that's going to go try and rescue Miles. And then the movie cuts right there, cliffhanger style. And yeah, that was such a brilliant way to end the movie. I mean, how did that all play out for you? Like, what were your thoughts and feelings when all that was going down?
Don't love it when they do that. I don't think that's how it should be in life in general. And I'm not trying to, there might be a story that's better served that way.
Yeah.
I am of a mind that the Turner Classic movie, that's the 5.5 hour Cleopatra or whatever, I would rather see that than see. I'm trying to think of the actual example, but there are movies like classic cinema,
Yeah.
that are like 4.5, 5 hours, and I would rather have one of those than, hey, we're gonna give you this one, and then we're gonna wait 3 years, and then we're gonna give you another one probably,
Yeah.
and if you die between now and then, you'll just never know what happens. And really, I'm not sure. Like, I don't like that. In TV shows, I think it's a bit of a cop out to end with a cliffhanger.
Like a season,
What I
like a
do
season
like,
ending.
yeah, it's kind of BS. It's really, I think, I'm not trying to get too meta or philosophical here, but you're now showing the genre rather than the actual story itself. And so in this case, movies, that's normally reserved for TV shows, and a movie
Yeah.
is normally a whole product, and it can end with some cliffhanger. In the post-credits scene, you show something and everyone gets to go, oh my God, now I gotta tune into the next one. But what I really like, when a TV show doesn't know if they'll be renewed, is they have a encapsulated story. If it ends there, that's okay. They don't want it to. That's not the perfect, ideal, bestest ending. So what you can do is do a little bit of a both. But when they just hit cut, gotta wait. How long am I waiting? Am I supposed to keep this movie on the front of my mind that entire time? What year? Honestly, do we know? That's a real question. Have they said anything?
So
Like
I
2 years? Is it
that's
often a normal amount in a franchise? And that's pretty fast.
usually it's like 2 to 3 years. This one was 5 years. So because
Yeah,
2018,
well,
yeah.
on the to be continued, like Matrix does it, right? But it's within 1 year that the next one comes out.
Right.
They'd already had it made, or at least we're in post-production.
Oh,
That at least
so
we're in the ballpark.
yeah. So
That's good.
interesting tidbit here. From what I'm reading, it's supposed to come out next year. So I
Okay.
think they've been working
I'm
in
not,
tandem here. So
that
yeah,
makes sense. I'm not
yeah,
as mad when you do that.
sure.
When it's Fast X and we're thinking it might be 5 years if they get there,
Yeah,
that to me is real bullshit. This is still bullshit, but I'm not as mad about it. You can do both. You can have it in, there's a note actually not long before there where I thought, okay, this movie's ending soon. And then they kind of like double up on the action.
yeah,
You can kind of do both. You can close it out and then make it clear the story is going to continue in the post-credit scene, set it up in a certain way. I think there's times in a TV show where the final ever episode is a cliffhanger, and that sucks. And now you have the problem where the audience is let in on the process and how it works, and they're saying, hey, we're a TV show and we'd like to be renewed, and that's how they're ending the show.
yeah,
Not with any, and I don't care if it ends. I like it, honestly, and we've talked about this, we've had this little debate before. I like it when a movie ends without telling you what's going to happen next.
yeah.
I don't like them ending saying, here's where we're headed, and there's going to be a big fight scene, and it will happen, but you got to wait a while. To me, that's fucked up. It does do that, has the effect where you go, no way, they just did that. That's cool, but it doesn't, it's not a satisfying way to end the movie to me. I
Yeah.
left the theater feeling a tad miffed, and I've heard other people having that reaction after Fast 10, and other times movies do this. It's just like, fuck me, I guess. It doesn't matter if I leave here happy, right?
Yeah.
You just get a little bit of it's a bit too much tease for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because when the ending of Fast X happened, I laughed out loud. Because for me, again, the movie itself is silly. It's ridiculous. And they ended it in that cliffhanger moment. And I laughed out loud because, again, I just thought it was so comical to me. I'm like, ha, these fools. This is how they're going to end it, right? And then they're
Ridiculous.
yeah, this is so ridiculous. And the fact that we're supposed to get 2 more parts to this crap, like, okay, well, good job, guys. All right, this is great. Here, when it ended, I was like, oh, I was like ballsy. I was like, this is a ballsy move, because you have people that are invested in this. You have people that are like so into this. Everyone I heard in the audience were just like, what? Like, you're going to end it here? And I think a lot of people were not aware that there was another one coming out. So like for myself, I knew that there were two parts coming out. Like this was supposed to be a part one. When this was first announced, they actually had part one in the title, and then they kind of removed it, and now they just changed the titles up. So like this is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and then the next one is going to be Beyond the Spider-Verse, right? So this was like Across the Spider-Verse part one when it was first announced. So I already knew that going into it. Were you aware that there was going to be another one after this before this movie? Okay.
If I'd known that, I would have been a little less miffed.
Yeah.
If I'd known the timeline and if they'd been part of the rollout the way they did with like Matrix 2 and 3.
Right.
But still miffed, but maybe a less so.
Yeah.
And then I'm having to like leave there being like, okay, deadinsider.hollywoodreporters.com. What's the deal here?
Right. Yeah. So I could totally understand that feeling for those who had no idea that they were working on another one and that was going to come out very soon, in a year. So that's not that bad. But I did think it was like a very ballsy move to end on that moment, because you are literally in a flux moment. Like everything's in flux. You have Miles, who looks like he's in big trouble. He's not in a place where he's supposed to be. It looks like there's really hardly any escape for him at that moment. I'm sure he could find his way out, but then how is he going to get back to his world? And then you have Gwen, who comes to the realization, is like, oh shit, Miles is not here. We got to find him. I think I know where he is, but he's going to be in huge trouble, so I need help. And you got this massive team that she formulated, which again, I think a lot of people like you were waiting for. Are we going to see Spider-Ham again? Are we going to see Noir again? Like Penny, all that. Like see these guys come back. Also, just because we haven't brought her up, Aunt May is now fully retired and living in Florida, so that's why she hasn't been a part of this whole thing, because she was a pretty massive part in the last one. But yeah, ballsy move. I personally, I love it because it did create that anticipation where it's like, okay, now I really truly cannot wait for the next movie to come out. But at the same time, I also was like, I could easily have sat through another hour of this. Because that's just so how much invested and how much I was into this movie. And I feel like everyone else in the theater were kind of in that same wavelength, So yeah, that's how the movie ends. And no post-credit scene. No additional scenes at the end. We just have a little
said
thing.
The words, the little tag. Go ahead. I have a car alarm, so I'm going to be on mute.
Yeah, I see. Hey, the lovely things about living in New York City. But yeah, we just get a little thing that says, Miles Morales will return in Beyond the Spider-Verse. No date given or anything like that, but easy search online to see that it's going to be coming out next year. Hopefully it sticks to that release date, with the writer's strike and all that. Hopefully they don't have to do anything, any changes. And if the Actors Guild don't go on strike, because, voice actors are also part, that will affect voice acting. So hopefully things are going to be okay. We don't know yet. This is going to be an interesting year for all that stuff. But yeah, I truly enjoyed this movie. I could sit here and talk about all the different cameos for days and all that. But it's just one of those movies where for the comic book fan, I think they're going to love and eat this movie up left and right. For the more casual fan like yourself, I think you're going to love this movie because of the visual aspects, the storytelling, the choices that the characters are made and the character progressions. I think a lot of that will resonate well for a lot of you out there. As far as how this ranks with all the other Spider-Man movies, what would you say, Blake? Where would this land in
all?
Yeah, like would this like crack your top 5? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I love the Spider-Mans. That's like the big, I was in high school. I was talking about with the upside down kiss. Maybe late middle school, early high school. He said, doxing himself again. I hope someone listens to 82 hours of us talking about movies and be like, oh, now I know what month he was born.
Right.
I don't fuck with the Tobey Maguires anymore.
At
I
all.
think the Andrew Garfield's are fine. I mean, they're fine. Yeah, sure. They were very, I mean, among the most popular, or sorry,
Mm,
most influential franchises in cinema history, because there's an argument to be made that that's what's kicking off
sure.
everything happening in movies the last 15 years now since Iron Man came out. Andrew Garfield's to me, fine. They were entertaining. Sure. Don't care. The Tom Holland's is great. Very well done, entertaining showbiz material. Um, these might be my 1 and 2. Are there other ones I'm not considering that you're putting on your list?
No, I mean, I mean, you could also, if you want, you could include like the Venoms and all that, but those aren't
Nope.
Spider-Man
I'm
centric
good on that.
movies.
Thank you for offering. I
Yeah,
love Tom Hardy.
yeah,
Don't love Venom. It's fine.
yeah.
Those wouldn't make the top 5.
I
It'd be the
didn't like
3 Tom
those movies.
Hollandses and these two. Is to me, it's a no-brainer. These might even be 1 and 2, just
Okay,
because the craft is so fucking high.
yeah,
That's the same reason why I put Sanctuary above Little Mermaid on my little
sure,
rankings earlier. I prefer a movie that is doing something, let's just say, more unique, more challenging
right,
to the art form, more visually arresting and captivating, interesting, all that.
yeah,
To me, these movies are pushing envelopes and boundaries that have, like, sure, they technically have been from some weirdo in a basement making, I'm sure, like some Danish cartoon that no one's seen, but like on a popular, massive level, to be this successful, this popular, and this fucking good is rare.
yeah.
Special.
No, for sure. I asked myself this question after I saw the movie, and even on Letterboxd, I briefly talked about it, and I think I'm still riding so much on the high that I'm feeling from this movie that I don't
Sure.
want to kind of make that judgment call just yet.
You
But
said it's better than The Godfather and Casablanca. You said that off
I
air
did say
earlier.
that.
You said it's the greatest
Yeah.
movie of all
Hmm.
time, and then you said recency bias, but still.
Yeah. It's probably in alignment with Easy Rider for me, like this movie.
Okay,
Yeah, that's just how
that makes
good
sense.
this movie is.
Godfather Part 1, 2, 3, no.
No,
Spider-Verse number 1 and
yeah.
2, then Godfather 2, then Godfather 1.
Don't
Yeah.
forget Easy Rider. Yeah, Easy Rider goes in there because I love how people always bring up Easy Rider sometimes. It's like, oh, it's like Easy Rider.
Yep. Classic Hollywood.
Yeah.
Golden terror sad yeah. No
Yeah.
thank you. But yeah, go
The
ahead.
golden age of Hollywood. But yeah, I right now the first Spider-Verse movie is probably my second favorite. With no again, the last Tom Holland movie, I think it's No Way Home. Is
Home is
my
where the heart is.
home is honey, I'm
No, there's no
home. It's
way.
Spider-Man.
No way. No way, comma. Home?
Home.
That one, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Hey Arnold. It's like no way. Home. Spider-Man.
Home. Wait, who plays Home in this movie?
Oh, that's Daniel Kaluuya.
I don't even want to know what the joke is there.
Because I
let's
don't
keep
know. It's
moving
just
on.
a
We're
random
giving away
guy.
the point.
Yeah, it's
Love
just
that.
some
Great.
random dude, you know.
Perfect.
But yeah, but I think it'll take me like another week or two or a rewatch to really determine where this movie falls. And I feel like it's hard to kind of rank this movie because you know it's attached to a sequel, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like you need to watch the next one to really see where this movie would rank overall. Because if the next one sucks, then you're like, well, you just built up all this anticipation for a sucking movie, so f that movie. You know, it's kind of like how like Force Awakens. When Force
Yeah.
Awakens came out,
That's what I was trying to think of when people were big mad.
yeah, everyone was just like, "Oh my god, this looks like this is going to be great." And then you got the next two movies, and you're like, "F that,"
They
you
were
know?
better, but
Yeah,
nerds were mad about them. Sorry,
yeah.
nerds. Sorry, nerds. No, seriously, if it's anything like these last two, this will be a classic trilogy franchise
Yeah.
up there with the best of them, especially for animated stuff. Like, that's not a long list of classic cinema sagas. So we're talking Toy Story.
Yeah.
Someone might say Shrek. I don't know. I don't.
Shrek,
Like,
yeah.
what else?
I think some people will put
Sure,
Shrek
but
in there.
a lot of animated movies are one-offs, right? Or you might have a
Yeah.
couple, or you do all these little spin-offs, but a lot of those are going to be like Sing 2, Sing Far From Home across the Singerverse or whatever.
Yeah, How to Train Your
Angry
Dragon.
Birds 2. Yeah, but once you're in the 3 and they're all 4 stars and up on Letterboxd type category and making big money with a popular character, like that's rarefied air.
Yeah.
I'm honestly thinking Toy Story might be the only real competition at that point, unless I'm missing something.
No, I think you're right.
Like Lion King 1.5 wasn't that good.
Wasn't that a straight to DVD release?
Yep. No, that was VHS, bro.
Oh, VHS. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was trying to modernize it for like the modern viewer today because no one knows VHS anymore.
Yeah. No, this is back whenever it took 15 minutes to go back to the beginning of a movie.
Right.
Where you couldn't just click restart. Yeah. A machine you put it into and it goes.
Yeah.
For honestly, I can't remember. Felt like an eternity when I was a kid. 5 minutes, 15 minutes, just to rewind.
It's long. It was long. Yeah. It took a while. Yeah. Or I feel like now, like we're getting slowly to that point where a lot of people don't know what the menu button was anymore. You know, like because like who watches DVDs anymore, right? So you hit that quick menu button. You know, and
you know what a menu button is like on an app because you're going back to the home screen essentially.
Yeah.
But you didn't have the music that repeated like a
GIF,
like
with like the little animation that they had going around, like the menus and all that. Like I missed
that. You get a brand new movie you love and you watch it like, oh my gosh, the character in the top right moved for a second. That was so cool.
Yeah, I missed that.
Also, the phrase "be kind, rewind" isn't going to make a lot of sense as an idiom to these youngies. All the kids at your theater are going to be like, "What does rewind mean?"
Yeah, they're like, "Fuck off, old, fuck off, boomer." I'm gonna run and jump.
Movie for them, honestly, they're like, "Why is this old guy reminding us that death is coming to us all?"
Why is this boomer guy sitting in the front there like that? I have to see him every time I'm getting my popcorn. You jerk off.
He's in my way. I'm trying to run around the theater.
Yeah, can't you tell?
Would have way more fun if he wasn't in my way. You ruined the movie for them too.
Yeah. I think it'll be great if like on purpose I find where they're sitting and I sit behind them on purpose and I'll just like be the most obnoxious old guy and I'll just be like, back in my day, just having little quips like that, like back in my day, you didn't have nachos in bags. They just plopped them on the tray.
That's what our etiquette episode is going to be. It's going to be us doing the what are the Muppets characters in the balcony?
The Waldorf and Statler. Yeah, those guys like.
Yeah, we're just going to be here's how you need to watch movies, kids.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that didn't ruin the experience for you.
No.
I'm glad. I always love it when we both have a movie that we like. This is so much fun doing this.
No, it
with
was.
You.
Yeah.
Scenario.
No, absolutely. And again, it's just. This is a busy month for movies, so it's nice that we started the month off with at least something as enjoyable. So yeah, we're definitely curious. What did you all think about this movie? If you had a chance to watch it yet, hopefully you did, because we obviously spoiled a whole bunch of stuff for you if you're still listening at this point. But let us know what you feel about Across the Spider-Verse. How are you feeling about the whole Spider-Verse portion of this Spider-Man universe that we are getting treated to? Love to know your thoughts and feelings about this movie as a whole and in general. But with that being said, that brings us to the end of this episode. So as we close things out here, Blake, where can people find you online?
Go to the app Letterboxd. Rene, I'm glad to see that you're on there now more days. It's been lovely. My name on there is last name Wolf. No punctuation. Just common spelling on all words. Last name Wolf.
Yeah. He's telling you the actual username. It's last name Wolf. Not telling you his last name is Wolf.
I'm not saying that's my last name. I'm not going to dox myself.
Well, it is the Wolf. So, and it says right there. And it says right there under you your full name, Blake the Wolf.
What year the MTV this happened? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
My identity. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely follow him there because, like I said, he has like a whole bunch of interesting lists to check out. I feel like you love curating lists more than you actually love rating movies when you go on there. So it's like every time I see like a new addition to a list and all that, but I think that's awesome. But yes, I am on there. I am more active. What I'm trying to do is anytime I watch a movie, when I get home, I will log what I watched and I will give my quick kind of elevator pitch review of the movie itself. So definitely check me out there to see the latest stuff of the things that I watch. But obviously you could follow us and me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram under LOWKEY GEEK. That's where you can find us in the show. Podcast platforms, just go to your podcast platform of choice. Check out the LOWKEY GEEK podcast channel where you can find episodes of this podcast. Obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or other, Well, thank you so much. Or Alexa, right? Oh, sorry. I think I just triggered my own Alexa by doing that, but my bad. Uh, but yeah, thank you so much for listening. We really enjoy the support and all that. And again, if you are in a position to further help support the channel and help the channel grow, definitely do check out the affiliates that we have listed in this episode. You have Father's Day coming up. You have a lot of graduations happening. So maybe you could find an awesome gift for a loved one or for yourself. You know, nothing wrong with treating yourself to something awesome or an event, going to a nice event. And by doing so and participating, you'll be helping support this channel at no additional cost to you. And for all of that, we are truly thankful. But with that being said, we are out of here. I am Rene, Low-Key Geek. This has been Blake, the Wolf. This has been Movie Time. Until next time, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye.
It's not working.
I don't have organic webs, so.
I was going to hit the hang up button.